Good afternoon and welcome to another ACC student interview. I'm your host, Tori Lawson, and I'm here with Jessica Renslow. We'll be doing questions about her career. Let's get started. So tell us exactly what you do.
Well, I am an industry consultant, so that actually is a wide variety of things. As concerns with media and technology, I primarily work in the government sector, some corporate as well. I do a lot of the how-to videos you might see if you're learning new software. I do live trainings, so that's a lot of remote access and in-person trainings for folks adopting new software. And I also have passion projects doing documentaries and scripted television now. But for about 10 years I worked in LA doing production and post-production.
How did you get into writing?
And writing is my passion. I have always been a writer. I was that kid that annoyed their parents. My mom taught me to write early because I was born storyteller, so she got tired of dictating my stories. So, and then from there I just kept at it. So a little bit of everything, clunking away. My most recent writing project, also consulting contract gig, was for the state library. So we've got a really cool state library here in Indiana. It's pretty epic. It just had its 100-year anniversary, or actually no, 200-year anniversary. It's bicentennial, which seems wild because that's longer than the state's been really around. It's a non-fiction project that's going to be available for classes, high school and middle school classes in the entire state. Coming in a month or two, they're going to launch it. So that was a pretty cool project. It's interactive. Can't say that much about it, but if you like escape rooms, it'll be cool.
So do you prefer more like local projects and nonfiction, or do you prefer fiction, like writing-wise?
I'm open to it all, actually. I like to kind of wear different hats. So like right now, one of my long-term projects, I'm working on a speculative novel that's kind of a play on a retelling of an old folk tale from around here. And so I kind of weave between history and kind of speculative fantasy elements. So like I knew your necklace, what it was, because of the symbolism and stuff. But then I'll do like a nonfiction project, or I've got like a documentary right now that's been accepted to 7 festivals, and hopefully it's entered into like 40, so hopefully I'll get in more. And it premiered at a pretty big one this summer. So, and that was commissioned by the Indiana Humanities group. So that was a film fellowship I got. So kind of I weave between it, and kind of I like to keep what I like. And what I like about consulting is I get to kind of not ever be bored because I kind of wear different hats each day.
Yeah. Can you explain your writing process?
Sure. I have committed to 17 minutes a day. Now, I am working multiple contracts, and I've got a 4-year-old who just got diagnosed with being on the spectrum, and I've got a 11-month-old. They both got a lot of energy, and I work 100% from home. So what I do after we get dinner and bedtime done is I commit to 17 minutes at least to work on my personal projects. Now, if it's for client stuff, they get during the day, and I've got a nanny that helps me with my kids. But yeah, at least 17 minutes a day, and I set a timer, and usually I end up getting at least an hour out of myself, and so that's for the creative writing. If it's a work thing, then they've got a schedule in my planner. But I'm a little old school. I have a little notebook that I carry around with me, and if something perks my interest, I'll write it down, or I'll actually put a note in my cell phone and email it to myself. Or if I find like this one I'm working on, it's like kind of a creepy ghost story. So if I see like a house or something that I want to keep in like my Rolodex in my mind to remember it later, to do a mood board or anything like that, and then I also have to. So things have changed a lot in my lifetime as far as being a writer, because social media has happened. So you do have to kind of have a social media presence now. You can kind of get away with it without it, but really you kind of need something. So it's also a great way to interact with agents and producers and publishers. So I will also comb at least once a week the different various social media channels that I'm associated with to see if there's a pitch contest coming up, anything that might be able to actually get me paid for my writing, and then I keep a calendar. Or there's like fellowships and grants that come up for artists, so you got to put your hat in the ring to get thought of. So that's kind of what I do each week.
I was gonna say, do you ever get overwhelmed with like your passion projects in your normal life?
Oh man, last year in the spring, I had a hard deadline because I was giving birth in April, like a little Earth Day baby, and I had been very blessed to have all of these awesome passion projects get funded. So I was actually getting paid for what I love doing, but I had a baby coming, which was like a surprise when you get to pitch a project over a year in advance. So, and I was 43 having a baby, which is kind of unusual. So I was like, oh my goodness, I got to get all this done in March. So that was a little overwhelming. But then, I made my deadlines and had the baby, and then this summer it was really nice to be able to see the projects come to fruition. So yeah, but that's why a calendar is your best friend, whether you get a written one or a digital version. That's a lot of creatives have a hard time with it, finding their like systems and organization. And it's really like a garden. You got to tend it every day, otherwise it will become bananas.
What inspires you to write, that is?
To write? Sometimes it'll be... Writing's an interesting thing. There are people who really believe like in the idea of the old Greek concept of the muses, like they visit you, like, whether it's inspiration or whatever you want to call it. So sometimes it's something random, like I'll overhear a conversation and I'll be like, oh, that would be interesting. How would you expand that to a short story or a book or a script? Because the other thing is you got to decide what format would work best. I was really lucky in college. I actually got a David Letterman scholarship for a feature film that I wrote, and it paid for my senior year of college, which was amazing. Being a working class kid, putting myself through school. But that project actually started out as a book, and it wasn't working as a book. I thought back then you'd send it to publishers, not agents, because it was like 1999, 2000. So I reworked it and turned it into a script, and it ended up, paying for college for me. So it's also knowing and thinking and rethinking and rehashing projects if they don't work in one format, or if they don't work in the first person, maybe you got to move it to the third person, that kind of thing. Like being able to take notes and just think of stuff as a work in progress kind of is inspirational to me, not to give up. I've tried before to give up and I can't. It haunts me. So.
I was gonna say, how do you get through writer's block?
My longest stretch of writer's block might have been about 6 months, and it was hard. But then one day, it just was like, I gotta write. Because I'm a kind of person, and I don't know if you feel the same way being creative, but if I don't do something creative, it doesn't necessarily have to be writing. Maybe it's filming a film or painting or whatever. If I don't do something creative every day, I'm in a bad mood. It's like a flow state for me.
Yeah, I understand.
But if I'm having writer's block, it's something I learned in a class I took, because I'm always taking different classes and stuff, because lifelong learning is important. Especially if a scene's not working, even if you're not a good drawer or anything, like drawing it out actually will help you finish your scene. You're like, what does this character need to do? Like, so actually moving into a different form of art sometimes will help you with writer's block.
What piece of work were you most proud and accomplished?
Oh man, they're all so different. So with client work, I've had some very successful stuff that's premiered like on Cartoon Swim and Disney Channel, that kind of thing. So my undergrad's in Japanese and TV production. And can you guess what field I might have worked in with that combo? Yeah, because I was asking your audio guy the same thing. So yeah, anime and a lot of video games. And, that's a wide range, because you get like, Studio Ghibli, which is a pretty high class, really interesting, very ethereal art stuff. And when you translate, direct translation is different than actually sociolinguistic translating. Mm-hmm. So when I would really get like a very conceptually difficult thing to translate and it would work out well, that's something to be very proud of. I had a script that I translated and adapted that actually won the Sundance International Filmmaker Award. So it got produced in Japan, but the filmmaker himself got $10,000 to produce it, and then some other budgeting stuff in Japan. And they were so wonderful and so happy with my work, because it was a real tight turnaround. I had to do it in one weekend. I know they had hired a different translator and it wasn't working out, because again, rote translation versus exact translation. So with my edits and stuff, it ended up winning, so they even gave me a higher pay. So it was great. So sometimes stuff like that works out and surprises you.
Well, that's all we have for today.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Thank you all for tuning in.